Hello, good morning, whatever. Benny's alternate universe. This is going to be a quick review for the simple reason that I already did this review, and I'm not technologically savvy so much, and I erased the damn review, and now I have to do it again if I want it to appear, which I do. I chose this album only because it was supposed to be a very easy review for me because I know a lot about this album, and it's turning out to be a pain in the ass. So without further ado, Black Sabbath's 8th album, Never Say Die. This is the last album to feature their original lineup, and more significantly, their original lead singer, Ozzy Osbourne. Okay? So, if you don't know about Sabbath, here's their deal. Their first 1, 2, 3, 4, get out of here blanket, 5, 6 albums are pretty much considered great by Sabbath collectors. Blanket, you gotta go. Just take a walk, dude. Take a walk, please. No, don't walk over here. Walk over there. Off you go. Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Master of Reality, Volume 4, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Sabotage, all classics of Black Sabbath catalog, all classics of heavy metal in general. Then album 7, they took a real dip in quality with Technical Ecstasy, and they followed that up with this gem, Never Say Die. In my opinion, much better than Technical Ecstasy. A lot of people would say this was their worst album yet. I think they bounced back a little bit. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about what the hell happened on Never Say Die. Technical Ecstasy, to me, was Sabbath moving in a less progressive direction after Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and Sabotage, which both had a lot of variety in the track list, a lot of ambitious production. I think Technical Ecstasy was an attempt to move it back toward the blues-based start of the band. There were some great songs on there. Gypsy was great. Backstreet Kids was great. Love the chorus there. Nobody I know will ever take my rock and roll away from me. And and Rock and Roll Doctor was good too. So not a terrible album, but Never Say Die is their most bizarre album. With Ozzy anyway, and I think of all of them, I think Never Say Die is the most bizarre. I don't know, Born Again maybe is a contender. Born Again is very bizarre, in my opinion. Anyways, they would incorporate a lot of synths, which was not a new thing for them. People who are hardcore heads will remember the song Who Are You on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was all synth. And that was going back to maybe 75, 76? 75, I think. Anyways. Never Say Die. What a great tune. I love the opening tune on this album, Never Say Die. It's powerful, great vocal, great message in the lyric, which I love. You know, you can never say die. And it's upbeat. And I think the upbeatness, and I'm not going to use the word positivity, but optimism maybe that you hear, especially on side 1, in a way does kind of signal a new direction for Sabbath, continuing experimentation and whatever. But then even if you read interviews with the band about this time, the only one I think who kind of makes a case for it is Bill Ward, or maybe it was Geezer, but I think Tony and Ozzy both hate this album, and even they say we weren't inspired, we didn't know what we were trying to do. They still managed to pull off a pretty killer side 1. Never Say Die is awesome, and if you listen to the Ozzy live album Speak of the Devil, which is all Sabbath covers, which is freaking amazing, which I should review, but I don't have the cover, and I don't want to show it without the cover because the cover is so killer. But great album. Personally, it's my favorite Sabbath live album, even though I know it's not Sabbath and it's not Iommi and Ward. The band just tears it up, and Ozzy singing, and it's all Sabbath songs, so it's close enough. Brad Gillis really did a great job with those Sabbath tunes, better than Randy Rhoads or Zakk Wylde ever sounded on a Sabbath tune. I don't know why. I guess he was just a big Sabbath fan, is what I've gathered from it. So he was in his glory, playing Sabbath covers with Ozzy on vocal. Johnny Blade is where the synthesizers start to take over. None other than Rick Wakeman, one of our good buddies here on the show, keyboardist of Yes, keyboardist extraordinaire, virtuoso, the man who eats chicken vindaloo while performing a concert with Yes, the man who performs inside a 360-degree circle of keyboards with a cape. He was friends with Sabbath at the time. They were doing drugs together in California, and played some synths on this. Now I'm wondering how that all went down, because I know one of the things about this album is that they recorded in a really crappy studio in Toronto in January, and it was a really miserable experience. So why the hell was Rick Wakeman there? I don't know. All I know is he played keyboards on this album some way, somehow. He probably did it afterwards. He probably did it in post. Bring the album out to LA, put some keyboards on it, try and get like a ELO sound on it. I don't even know. I don't even know what they were going for in this album. That's one of the reasons I like it so much, because it's so weird. So weird. At the same time, Johnny Blade has some killer riffs in it. Almost, Sabbath level riffs. It's got a great solo. The vocal is really cool, if it is a little bit ripped off from Ziggy Stardust. It's hard for me to jump ahead while the song is on, because it is actually very cool. Junior's Eyes is a song that I think among Sabbath heads, a lot of people would say is a classic and a great song, and probably the standout track on Never Say Die would have to be Junior's Eyes. Although I think the song Never Say Die, the title track and the opening track, is really great too. Some people might not be able to feel that because it's major and it's happy sort of sound, upbeat sound, and it's Sabbath. But I accept all the things that Sabbath wants to do musically. They're a very interesting band. There's not a lot of, quote, classic rock bands. I guess another one would be Rolling Stones, where they have just a whole bunch of crap albums that you can dig into if you're a fan, Like, I've been a Sabbath fan since I was a little child, since I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and I still never listened to all the way Tear, Headless Cross. I put them on to try and listen to them. Forbidden. Fuck out of here. I'll tell you what. Born Again was decent. Dehumanizer was decent. And then 13 was okay, I guess. But really, after Mob Rules, they didn't do anything great. But they did a lot of stuff. So there's almost like this endless supply of Sabbath records you could be checking out, and knowing that they're not that good going into it. Anyways, Hard Road, Junior's Eyes is awesome. Starts off with the famous bass line and drums. The lyrics are really, really good. They're about a kid whose father has to go off to war and he doesn't come back. Junior's eyes look up to the skies and see. And I think that's really classic Sabbath tune. Ozzy's vocal sounds great. The guitar riff or guitar part is a little different. It's a wah-wah part, but it's still memorable, and the bass line is very memorable. So I think it's a pretty dope song. And then Hard Road is another one that's in a major key. It's very upbeat, and the lyric, I guess it's a complaint, it's a hard road, but it almost reminded me, knowing that Ozzy's such a huge Beatles fan, that he always says, of Carry That Weight from the Beatles, where it's kind of like, yeah, it's a hard road, but we're making the most of it, and we're having a little sing-along. So, cool song. I think if this album had been released as just 2 7-inches, Never Say Die / Johnny Blade and Junior's Eyes / A Hard Road, that would have been a really good release. If I were able to release Never Say Die as a dual 7-inch 4-song package, I could have saved the Ozzy era of Sabbath, and they could have kept it going. That was not meant to be. As we all know, Ronnie James Dio would soon be part of the crew. I'm gonna see is that better? Looks a little fuzzy. Whatever. Okay, I feel better now. Just getting a little worked up after that first attempt. And that's good, because now we're getting into side 2, and this is where it all kind of goes to shit. So I gotta be relaxed as I deal with this end of the Ozzy era of Black Sabbath. The first song on side 2, Shockwave, is pretty good, pretty hard rocking, and I think it would have fit in well with the songs on side 1. And then we start to go south quick. Air Dance is mostly a piano ballad. Lots of twinkly pianos, and Ozzy is singing about what I picture as like a Marlene Dietrich or like a Ginger Rogers, some kind of forgotten screen legend dancer. And because it's Sabbath, I assume like she's crippled now and she can't dance, but I didn't really get that from the lyric. I just kind of made that up in my own imagination. I don't know what the hell he's on about. I just know it's not a very good song. I don't really know of anybody who's a Sabbath fan who's disputed that. What is going on with this light, man? This light is like chopping my throat right now. Hold on. There we go. No, sir, I don't like it. Is there any way I can get rid of that? Nope. Freak nuts. All right. There we go. Having a very hard time with this review. I'd like to thank anybody who stuck with me. Christ, it's already 12 and a half minutes long. All right, so Air Dance is bad. Over to You. Very forgettable song. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's forgettable. Breakout is an extended saxophone riff augmented by sax solos. Ozzy has said that this is the point where it really just became too much for him, and he wasn't feeling the band anymore, and he didn't want to be in some fucking jazz band. I don't know. I didn't think this track was so bad. Maybe if he threw some vocals on it, it would have been better. But I can understand where he's coming from, too. Like, we don't need this from Black Sabbath at all. This is something you might hear in, like, the heavier moments of a Chicago record. Or Power. We don't need this from Sabbath. And with the less said about that, the better. Breakout, yeah. Ugh. And then the final song, Swinging the Chain. Okay, so what we've seen here so far is just a downward progression on the entire side 2, starting with the first song, Shockwave, which is almost as good as the song on side 1, but not as good. It would fit in with those songs, but it's not quite up to snuff. Air Dance is just really weird piano ballad of, like, I don't even know what they were going for. Like, were they trying to sound like ELO or something? Or Meatloaf? Like, I really don't know what was going on in 1978 that they were trying to tap into with this piano ballad. It's bad. Over to You, not as bad, but it has no personality whatsoever. That's the last time you're going to hear Ozzy sing on this album, because you have a sax instrumental, which is almost entirely sax based. I mean, there's drums and guitars and whatever, but it's all about the sax section. And then the final song, Swinging the Chain, for whatever reason, Ozzy refused to sing. and it was sung by drummer Bill Ward. Bill Ward does a fine job. Nothing against Bill Ward's vocals. I feel like he may have sung once or twice before, maybe, on It's Alright. But for the last song on the album, every other song has been sung by Ozzy up to this point. It is really freaking weird when Bill Ward comes in. And there's nothing about the song that you would say like, oh, well, no wonder Ozzy didn't want to sing it. It's just like kind of a grimy blues thing. So Iommi was fed up. I don't blame him. Ozzy was fed up too. He wasn't feeling the direction that Iommi was taking it. And the band would not play again for many decades. Of course, Dio would come in and redeem the band on Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. And Ozzy would go on to untold greater success with his albums Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, Bark at the Moon, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure we'll talk about Ozzy more and have talked about him already on the show. So, I got my rubber ducks back. Thank you for sitting through this take 2. Please, Lord, don't let me erase this one because I want to go outside. It looks nice out. I have my mask. I have my protective gear, COVID-19 protective gear. I want to go outside. So, I already sorted them, so I kind of have to randomly grab them now. The first one is the album cover. I'm going to say, at the end of the day, no. Even though it's one of Sabbath's best covers, I don't know why Sabbath always kind of has crappy album covers. The exceptions would be maybe Born Again, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. This is not really that great of a cover, even though it's good by Sabbath standards. This was done by Hypnosis, the same guy who did great Pink Floyd album covers, Animals and Wish You Were Here, so not really one of his best either. He did that Scorpions album cover where like the girl has the gum on her boob and the guy's grabbing the gum, whatever that was. Attitude. It's a Sabbath record. Every Sabbath record has Attitude. That's a stupid ass question, frankly. Does it have great lyrics? I'm gonna say yeah. I think it does. I think most of the songs on side 1 have pretty cool lyrics. The songs on side 2, kind of hit or miss, but even like Air Dance, maybe it's kind of a dumb lyric, but it's interesting, and it's enjoyable, so yeah, what the hell. Is it memorable? Is it a classic album? No, of course not. It's another stupid question. It's only for hardcore fans of either Ozzy or Sabbath, which I happen to be both, so it's for me, but no, not a classic album. Does it have virtuosic playing? I think so. Because I'm expanding this category just to mean like satisfying and quality playing and craftsmanship, because a band like, for example, Talking Heads or even like The Strokes, they're not virtuoso players, but they're playing at a high level that's very satisfying. Or like Beck. Does Beck have great playing on his album? I would say yeah. I would say he plays the parts that should be on there accurately and soulfully, and yeah, so we're flexing that one a little bit to make it more accommodating, because it's not all about technical wizardry. When I say, when I hold up the Yes tape, maybe you're thinking, oh, well, can they play as good as Yes? Of course not, but can they play great? That's really all it is, because some albums have bad playing and it turns you off. Not this album. The production award, I'm going to have to give them a swing and a miss on that, because they did try and have some great production, and while the production is very freaky and as such very interesting, I wouldn't say it's great. It's kind of bad. Is it heavy? Yeah, it's Sabbath. It has moments of heaviness, of course. Heaviness, not heaviness. Sorry, I'm getting the text right here. This duck is for originality, uniqueness. I'm going to say no. for a band as original as Sabbath, and well, nah, I will say yeah, because I can't put my finger on what exactly it's ripping off. So it's still Sabbath. It's unusual. It's bizarre. I don't know if that really counts as original though. Seems like they're ripping off something, but I don't know what it is. Fun? No. They tried to make it fun, but they failed. Again, it's fun for me. For me, it's very fun. Because I love Sabbath, and it's for all the reasons we talked about. And finally, is it funky? No, it is not. So we get a pretty underwhelming 5 ducks for Black Sabbath's Never Say Die. I think that's appropriate. I think it's accurately ranked among Sabbath albums. It's for fans only. It's for the heads. If you love Black Sabbath and you love Ozzy Osbourne and you played out all their good records to death, definitely put on Never Say Die. You're going to enjoy it a little bit, if only as a curiosity. Or if you really want to have a good time, put on Speak of the Devil. And then you're going to hear some great performances of classic Sabbath material. Much better album than Never Say Die. But Never Say Die, nonetheless, is one of my favorites, and I listen to it frequently. That's all. Danny's Alternate Universe. So long.